G'day folks and welcome to What Lies in the Sunday Telegraph for the 24th of November. The year is almost done. What have you done with it? Anything good? Leave your thoughts in the comments, such as they are. So, in this video, for those who are new to it, read the Sunday Telegraph and apply the power of critical thinking to what lies within. So, what have we got right on the top of the Sunday Telegraph? Look, hey, blonde woman with piercing blue eyes. Take it back. Blonde woman in white, pink text. That's good. That's a Sunday Telegraph cover. Also, we have crazy rich Asians, so stigmatizing mental health and being racist in one short strap headline. Apparently, this is the new master chef in what I suspect is says Stella, which is their horrible little magazine that thinks it's Vogue but isn't. So why is there a woman wearing pink? Why is there a woman wearing white and lots of pink text? It is the ripple effect of party drugs. The day our world stopped. 4 broken mums, 4 dead children, 1 killer pill. It should be noticed that Murdoch journalists generally prefer powder over pills, so I can totally get where they're coming from here. Oh dear. The confronting report every parent must read. Their stories illustrate how 1 killer pill affects more than just the person who takes it. Of course, if we legalized it or introduced pill testing, there'd be less dangerous pills out there. I don't think that's where they're going to with this. I guess we'll find out when we find the special report. So, right, it's a wraparound. Yeah, right. So today we launched The Ripple Effect, a News Corp Australia series looking at the issues that affect you and your families. In our first installment, our team of reporters focus on party drugs on the eve of another long, hot summer of music festivals. A single MDMA pill has tremendous power. It makes criminals rich, gets kids high, and forces government to spend billions. It also kills. These are very good arguments in favour of legalisation. Chinese chemical factories, drug cooks in the Netherlands, drug-dealing crime lords in Australia, low-level pushers, to a friend handing it to another in the mosh pit of a music festival, which is generally how these things get around in my experience. They've got some nice pills done up as skulls too. So lots of people. Apparently Father Rod Bauer's now a go-to for the Telegraph. I'm interested why he agreed to talk to them, but I guess he's still answering their questions. So wow, we're really doing a lot of these pink skull pills. Deadly, colourful candy seducing festival goers. Of course, they're blaming it all on one drug, but the killer pills are generally not the drug they pretend to be. You don't appear to be navigating that cognitive dissonance. That's like a... Good God. So 1, 2, 3 sheets, 12 pages of drugs and bad and key. And this from a paper that employs more than one noted cocaine user. We get another front page because why only have one front page? This inability to focus messaging is not limited to the Sunday Telegraph. So, hey, we've got another blonde woman. Sonia Kruger says she's the one that got away. All will be revealed within. Although it's kind of a waste of a front page when it's not actually on the front page that people can see when they're in the shops. Incidentally, this video is coming to you late because the paper didn't turn up, so I had to go to the shops and get one. So I've paid for 2 Sunday Telegraphs. This is what my life has become. Right, Bushfire Lifeline, keep the doors open. 50 million cash gifts to save burnt farms and communities. A record joint and federal and state relief package. Oh, that's ScoMo, he really cares. So mixed picks, what are the best things in the paper today, according to its editor? A new look travel section. Never any admission that there was a problem with the old travel section, but apparently we needed a new one. Meet the Platinum Nomads, rich, retired, and ready to go. The very buff dude in the beard holding a surfboard. 2 is At Home with Elsa Pataky. 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 Don't know how to pronounce that. Don't know who she is. Fit, fabulous, and fully in love, Elsa Pataky chats to Miranda Wood about her new book. Funnily, having railed against party drugs, we're also treated to the best party drinks that get you where you need to be. So, substance abuse for recreational purposes is fine as long as it's substances approved by the Sunday Telegraph. Number 4 is the talking about The Irishman, saying it's well worth your time. The secret to uninterrupted sleep. Alright, the Parkley prison boss says he is not soft on crime and criminals. I'm not soft. Boy, didn't get control of the headline there, did his people? There's your headline. I'm not soft. I don't quite know why prison guard's having to prove his hardness or otherwise in the Sunday Telegraph. That makes little sense to me. Frozen 2's coming out, so Duncan Leigh is hoping to revive his post-Westeros, post-Game of Thrones career by throwing shade on Frozen. With Frozen 2 only days away from being released, Duncan Leigh takes a look at the worst reboots. Seems to be casting a bit of judgment pre-release, doesn't it? So we're trying to big up the new MasterChef judge, Melissa Long, who's of Asian descent, which I think was what they were getting at with the racism on the first front page. Private health rises get cut. Private health insurers have been told their proposed price rises are too high and they need to think again about premium hikes. Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt has written to the insurers ordering them to resubmit their applications for 2020 premium price rises. You know, when private sector organisations have to be regulated to the point of the health minister deciding what they can charge, one might start to wonder, what is the purpose of that private sector at all? Fires have sparked a water crisis. Dry towns will get $50 million funding boost for water to be trucked in. Access to water really should be, if we had human rights in Australia, really, I guess, but should be something that the federal government is responsible at least to ensure it happens. Shouldn't be up to emergency funding. It should just happen. Right, Sonia Kruger is the First Lady of 7. She's going to star in the network's primetime lineup for 2020. Interesting with Kruger at 54 as the face of the network. I think that's largely to do with the rapidly aging demographics of people who still watch significant amounts of broadcast TV. It's going to get particularly nasty for the TV networks because their remaining demographics not only are rapidly aging, but I suspect people who can't afford a streaming service and people who can't afford $10 a month for Netflix, what are you advertising to? Yeah. Brands of pet food? This one almost tastes like food. So we've got 2 pages on Tyler Wright, the surfer's recovery from a virus, which I suspect its placement has a lot to do with being able to get a nice photo of a woman in swimwear or surfwear in there. I hope that's not the case, but anyway, that's page 8 or 9. Page 9 has just a little strap next to the surf story. Dutton wasted $100,000 on flight. This is Annika Smethurst firing up. Taxpayers forked out more than $100,000 to fly Peter Dutton on a private plane to Sri Lanka so he could rush back to Australia for a meeting that never took place. Mr. Dutton could have flown business class, but that would have meant asking for a meeting to be put back by 3 hours, so he asked for the VIP jet, but the meeting was then cancelled. I mean, this was a proposed meeting with the Papua New Guinea Minister for Home Affairs, which I'm not sure you could blame him for that. Anyway. Apparently men also have a biological clock, gentlemen, so, you know, gather ye rosebuds while you may. Apparently safety concerns are still troubling light rail. The trouble-plagued light rail is still riddled with at least 11 design flaws and safety issues that could easily result in injury or even death, unions claim. Asking for chicanes on pedestrian routes crossing it, which just does seem like good design. It's amazing that you could spend this much money and still ask that stuff up, isn't it? Having said that, in many parts of the world, people manage to avoid the enormous, quite slow, frequently brightly coloured things. I'm not normally a social Darwinist, but I think the gene pool's losing too much by people who can't stay out of the way of light rail vehicles. Right, now here's a story you don't see every day. No easy out for animal abusers. This is Linda Silmalis exclusive. Animal activists have forced the state government to back down on plans to weaken penalties for bestiality, as a Byron man awaits sentencing for having sex with dogs. The state government last week attempted to change it to an offence dealt with in local courts where the maximum penalty is 2 years. It's part of a move to reduce the backlog of cases in the district court system. I'm not getting into that. Oh, problem gamblers will be able to ban themselves from betting online under new laws to be introduced into Parliament. Yeah, what about all the ones who don't self-identify as problem gamblers? Right, yous can all wogs off. Why Wog Boy is suing ethnic comedians. Nick Giannopoulos is getting a bit old to be calling himself a boy, you'd have thought. So this is written by some names I'm not used to seeing in this paper. Shannon Deary and Susan Delabasic note that in a move that has reportedly raised a huge number of monobrows in the ethnic comedy scene, lawyers for Giannopoulos have sent letters demanding rivals stop using the word wogs. And he apparently thinks he's trademarked it to protect his business interests. I await the rulings of the court on that trademark. I think there's considerable prior art there. Apparently the Frank Baxter Youth Justice Centre's had offenders secretly making weapons. Well, they got a lot of time on their hands there in prison. Right, don't dare tell me I'm soft. This goes along with I'm not soft. Parkley Prison Governor Paul Baker. Apparently he's installing libraries in every wing. Slightly odd. You think it's 2019. Why not give them heavily locked down Kindles or something? But I suppose if you're worried about people making weapons, a Kindle's got some possibilities. But they do give them televisions. I think possibly they value their televisions so much they don't weaponize those. Numbers have exploded of snowy mountain brumbies. That's what happens when you don't cull them. They are now going to cull them. That's good. Right, a Luke John Philip McInerney from Lake Heights near Wollongong is accused of promising tickets to some of the hottest music events in Australia's capital cities, but failing to come up with the goods. He was running this scam on Gumtree. Purchasers started complaining to police after they transferred money to McInerney but never received their tickets. It is alleged the 19-year-old made more than $2,000. Man, if you're going to take to a life of crime and fraud, you'd like to think you could rake in a bit more before you get busted, wouldn't you? This is why crime never pays. Seems like a lot of work for $2,000, frankly. All right, Saxon Mullins is an ambassador for sexual consent. The headline is Yes to Sex campaign. The woman who inspired a national conversation about sex consent has backed a new billboard campaign that is trying to tackle the rising rate of sexual assault. Apparently the slogans or the ads are yes ? Plus yes ! Equals amazing. I think the thing that I love most about it is it's sex positive, Ms. Mullins said. Sometimes people can get trapped in the negativity of consent. I mean, good luck to them. I hope it works. I have my doubts as to the efficacy of a billboard campaign, but I'd love it if it worked. The boss of an after-school care service provider fined for breaching quality standards previously headed a vocational training program shut down by the federal government. Warren Jacobson is the new CEO of Camp Australia, which operates 665 after-school care services that care for over 50,000 children. It's great how for the right sort of person in Australia, you just keep failing upwards, which kind of suggests they're not really failing on what they're really there to do, doesn't it? Okay, so Annika Smethurst is running a Your Right to Know story. This is Senator Rex Patrick, the South Australian Centre Alliance Senator, who described you just as crossbench senator. Is trying to figure out if the Hawkeye military vehicle is good value or a rip-off. It's military procurement. You're never, ever going to know. Greens say no to, inverted commas, meeting, spelt MEATING. A herd of Greens councillors is being filleted by critics over wanting to give meat the chop. Blue Mountains Council will debate a motion this Tuesday to virtually ban meat in favour of vegetarian and vegan options. In a move that has been criticised as excluding Aussie agriculture in a time of drought, which I'm going to guess this story is wildly overblown to begin with, but Aussie agriculture does produce vegan and vegetarian food, or plant-based options, as I believe it's often called. The authority of Blue Mountains Council, I'm assuming this is just for food served in council functions. And, I don't know, if some of the retrograde Liberals insist on eating steak at the council dinner, then I guess they'll have to cook their own. Page 25 is talking about Guy Sebastian, who was predicted he won't win Best Artist aria, and has a kid, and looks happy, he's smiling. What else can we do? There's a Movember story. Don't really have what it takes, do I? Kind of cut this bit out in there. But anyway, I missed the shakedown date. Next year, folks, we're going to do Movember, all right? I mean, on the one hand, Movember's kind of fun. On the other hand, it is a little exclusionary. Right, Amin Narman's back because he's selling off his properties. This is the guy who raked in lots of money to make apps from Sydney's criminal underworld. I gave him $100 million to do something, and it didn't work. Right, the source, our political gossip. VIP dinner turns aggro. It was supposed to be an intimate fundraising dinner for a who's who of notable Sydney Conservatives, but ended up with talkback King Alan Jones having to mediate calm between brawling guests. The VIPs gathered at pub czar Justin Hemmer's Swish Hotel Centennial in Wallara to chew over issues such as free speech and climate change, while supping on continental salads, spiced meats and champers. I'll run through this because this is an interesting list of people who are considered who's who of Conservatives. So Ross Cameron, Minerals Council CEO Stephen Galilee, Funds Manager Nick Farr-Jones, columnist Corinne Barraclough, Muslim One Nation member Emma Eros, Penguin Bloom executive producer George Kikeli, KTM Capital Chief Investment Officer Martin Rogers, investor Julie Rosenberg, and Glenburn Private Capital Chairman Brett Whitford. A source claims One Nation MLC Mark Latham became upset at one guest, who we are told is Chick Olson, a former chair of the Australian Wool Growers Association, an inventor of a groundbreaking sheep anaesthetic, for interrupting Jones while the 2GB host was speaking. Olson, we are told, began asking Jones questions such as why the Libs and other leaders were trying to shut down free speech. While Jones willingly answered the questions, Latham accused Olson of being rude. And Mark Latham is a world leader on rude people, isn't he? He knows his stuff. The source said Jones ended up having to make the peace. Olson pointed out to Latham the irony of being shut down after he complained about the loss of free speech, the source said. While Jones successfully de-escalated the situation, one guest alleged Latham appeared furious and dark for the remainder of the evening. The dinner was held to raise funds for Olson and Cameron to attend the Conservative Political Action Conference gathering in Washington, D.C. next year. Why can't these bastards pay for their own bloody tickets? Instead, you got these circle jerks of arseholes that send two other arseholes off to an even bigger circle jerk of arseholes. I mean, what is wrong with these people, this country? Two warring state government ministers settled their differences the traditional way last week over some Arvo beers in a hotel. Gee, here's some gossip. New South Wales Environment Minister Matt Keane and Nationals leader John Barilaro, both of them have been clashing in the media over various environmental issues, including the management of feral horses, ended up best mates after a few post-COAG Energy Council beverages on Friday. The pair, who were joined by Energy Minister Angus Taylor, met at the Duxton Hotel for one celebratory beer, which the source is reliably informed became multiple. That's what you get when a far-right winger, crazy national, and dripping left moderate walk into a bar, a source close to the trio reported. Isn't it nice that New South Wales ministers and laws of defamation prevent me describing Angus Taylor in a way that I would seem adequate, can all get together and have some beers in a hotel while they carve up the country's future to suit their mates in ways that enrich themselves eventually and the rest of us burn. Apparently Westpac's advertising for a communications director in the financial crime program. Apparently applicants must have advanced PowerPoint. Political gossip. The Sutherland Shire Mayor Carmelo Pesci was spotted on Tuesday helping two local ladies with their broken down car on the busy Kingsway. The mayor directed traffic around the vehicle and then helped push it to the side of the road before the ladies called the NRMA. I reckon he was on the phone to spread that story. We're straight onto the snitch. Love will overcome. Constable Jacob Vella has proposed for his long-term girlfriend Emma. That's our law and justice gossip, that cops are getting married. More on Bone Dry. Farmer's new life as saviour of hay bales. Millionaire businessmen looking after each other. Ron Medich has sold his Crooked River property, possibly to fund his high-flying QCs. Here's an interesting one lurking in sport. Eddie's rising ice ire. Collingwood boss Maguire blames drug use for football violence. Collingwood president Eddie Maguire has blamed the drug ice for the escalation of fan violence at the football. I imagine Collingwood supporters are particularly prone. This paper's been cut in a very odd way. I wonder if that's why mine didn't turn up today. As in if they had production difficulties at the plant. I mean, it's a good business model, isn't it? Don't deliver the product and then you get to sell another one. So here's a buff oldie. It's the dream for the Sunday Telegraph reader, isn't it? Oh, would it be nice to be rich and buff? Oh, Vale Bill Waterhouse. The fact the Waterhouse clan is still allowed to be involved in racing after their criminal behaviour is, in my view, just proof of what horse racing is all about. Right, Jessica Halloran is talking about a scandal of the Olyroos, which is the Olympic soccer national soccer team, because I think the Olympics have to be under 21, something like that. So, it is a disturbing fact that 4 Olyroos footballers felt it was okay to engage a woman in a group sex bonding session in an Australian team camp. Sports Australia sources say the British woman was left devastated after this extreme and incredibly serious incident with these 4 players at their team hotel in Cambodia in March this year. The woman formally complained to the Australian Embassy in Phnom Penh after she was kicked out from the players' hotel room, then locked out in the corridor, as she had tried to seek assurances from the players their sexual encounter hadn't been filmed. See, it's the way the woman was treated after the act that is actually problematic. So in world news, we're mentioning that Donald Trump's now saying he wants to be impeached. He also said he wants to release his tax returns, and somehow he can just never quite get around to doing it, which I suspect might be the actual thing he's going for here, because I don't think he would get much enjoyment at all from a Senate impeachment proceeding. He might not realise how little enjoyment he would get from that, though. Anywho, Tesla's released their horrible-looking ute that looks like something out of Blade Runner, and I thought was some sort of joke. I mean, it's up there with Homer Simpson's efforts at car design. Elon Musk, who appears to be using ever greater amounts of Botox. And I've got to say, the dudes with the sledgehammers belting the thing, if you watch the videos of the launch, they didn't look like they were trying very hard. And also, cars are meant to crumple. It's not a design flaw. It's so it doesn't turn the occupants of the vehicle into pink jam in the event of a crash. Amazon has been forced to pull skin lightening products off its website. Good. I'm not quite sure why that's news. They must pull dozens of things a day. Berlin Zoo has baby pandas. Wow, here's some news that's useful. I mean, yeah, cute. There's really not much in this paper that Twitter doesn't provide for free, is there? All right, and again, talking about the UK election, Brexit, Corbyn sitting on fence. News Limited is not going to say a useful word. Scott Paper's the barefoot investor. Yeah, why on earth that's in a newspaper is also a mystery. Peter Credlin is taking Westpac to task. Bank of choice for a modern slave trade. Westpac must really think we are idiots. It's hard to conclude otherwise after the business as usual way the board has handled revelations. It facilitated the exploitation of children alongside 23 million other breaches of anti-money laws. Okay, so far I agree with Peter Credlin. This is concerning. I'm waiting for the twist. Justice Prince Andrew is likely to face a life ban from royal duties because of the total failure to grasp the magnitude of his moral failure. Isn't actually being interviewed by the FBI though, is he? Oh, with Bill Clinton. And, one of Jeffrey Epstein's other travel buddies, Donald Trump. Let's move on. The Westpac board has probably already passed the point of no return when it comes to just not getting what they've done wrong after the bank admitted to the series of transactions where it facilitated the abuse of children, most living overseas, by paying customers. Many years ago, when I was Chief of Staff to the Communications Minister, we boosted the number of police officers in the online child exploitation unit at the Australian Federal Police and increased their funding by tens of millions. Not long after, I was sent a large packet of the most depraved photographs containing images of child sexual abuse, including infants. What I saw has never left me, even today. Inside was a note, "You will never catch me." And immediately, with bile in my throat, I walked the entire package of filth upstairs to the Justice Minister's office and into the hands of the AFP. So far, aside from the self-aggrandizing dramatics, we've got a Peter Credlin article people can get behind. Here we go. Here's the twist. She really made us wait for it, though. All banks have a tendency to talk down to the public while parading their own virtue, but Westpac has taken this sort of arrogance to the extremes. This, after all, is the bank that announced it wouldn't lend money to Adani for a coal mine, before Adani had even asked for it, but failed to adhere to the law and processes meant to stop facilitation of child sex crimes. Westpac are mean to coal miners, so they're pedophiles. Adani wasn't morally good enough to be a Westpac customer, even though all it wanted to do was produce electricity for poor people in India and employ thousands of Australians here, yet somehow purveyors of depravity against children got through. Westpac's checks and balances, ? Few would have a shred of sympathy for a chief executive who lost his salary of several $1 million a year and a chairman who lost his director fees of several $100,000 a year. But if they were to announce their resignations forthwith, it might at least be possible to accord them a degree of respect. All of us, after all, make mistakes. They certainly do, Peter. Sometimes big ones, indeed. Right now, they're failing the ultimate test of character, which is owning up to mistakes and accepting the consequences. Thumbs up to Josh Frydenberg for saying oldies need to go back to work. It was ham-fisted, yes, but Josh Frydenberg was right to highlight the value of older workers to our economy. We can extract more value from old people, says Peter Credlin. Look, they're digging up coal. Right, and a thumbs down. Malcolm Turnbull's self-deluded rant and agreed by Christopher Pyne that he could have won the May election. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's not many people that doubt that. Really, the majority of his colleagues who voted him out. The falling out between Peter and Malcolm, who used to work very closely together. In fact, that was the period she was referencing in her story of heroism. Right, jihadi's bad, not mad. This week we got the proof Islamist terrorists are almost unreformable. Still, the government is spending some $53 million on so-called She's saying they are so-called re-radicalisation programs. I believe they are de-radicalisation programs. But I could be wrong. It seems odd that they'd have re-radicalisation when they could have de-radicalisation. I don't know. What do you want to do? Lock them up forever, Peter? Why not try something? And lock them up if you have to. Peter Gleeson tells us that Shorten is Labor's mad uncle. Bill Shorten is fast becoming the crazy uncle at the family barbecue, a pest, but nobody quite knows how to handle him. I'm sure Peter Gleeson, arch Tory, is really offering some good advice for Labor. I'm sure he's got their best interests at heart. Lucy Khan is tilting at a straw man that someone's complaining that the children's cartoon Bluey isn't feminist enough. Piers Ackerman says that China needs a little re-education on the history and principles of freedom. Freedom to dig coal. Lucy Khan says, call me old-fashioned, but I'm the type of feminist who prefer the focus be on stopping women being murdered. Hard to disagree. Claire Harvey is devoting herself to snarking about royals, remembering that Rupert Murdoch is forever angry about his lack of a knighthood. Annika Smethurst is quoting Walter Bagho to talk about the Duke of York. Yeah, nothing new from Annika about Epstein and Prince Andrew. The Sunday Telegraph editorial is, please think about what it will do to your mum, as if thousands of teenagers about to hit the music festival circuit are reading the Sunday Telegraph's editorial column. There are a million reasons not to take drugs. I mean, as I said, the rank hypocrisy from an organisation with so many drug users writing in its pages is quite something. Right, Frozen 2 gets 3.5 stars. The new Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig movie called Knives Out, that gets 4.5. There you go. Duncan Lay gives us the thought that fans the world over will be desperately hoping Frozen 2 is more of an Aliens than a Speed 2. I am guessing no fans of Frozen are hoping it's anything like Aliens. I doubt it's going to be much like Speed 2 either. Although, you know, if H.R. Geiger's vision was carried over onto Frozen, I would pay good money to see that. Right, Annette Sharp is defending Tracy Spicer's Me Too championship. Spicer, a two-time casualty in the #Me Too movement. She was unprepared for the job she took on, but that makes it no less a valid cause. Annette Sharp is often a very responsible writer, I find. Apparently Steve Price has found love. That's alarming. Not saying anyone is undeserving of love, but if anyone was, Steve Price would be it. So, Alan Jones never seems to have found anyone to settle down with either, does he? Alright, there's a horrible newspaper that I had to buy twice. The racism's good. The coal industry defence is top-notch. When I say the racism's good, I'm not saying racism is good. Racism is bad. The way the Sunday Telegraph is racist is bad. The screaming hypocrisy of trying to propagate drug prohibition while also noting the miserable human toll of that prohibition with no sense of irony. And flying in the face of coroner's reports into harm minimisation. There's some real blood on the hands coming over this summer on that, isn't there? Okay, folks, on that happy note, do please like, share, and subscribe, and all those things. If you just can't get enough of the sound of my voice, I have got a tank podcast where there's very little politics and lots of talk about tanks. It's called Totally Tanked. You can find it wherever pods are cast. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching this far. Goodbye.